Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the T.O.A Podcast. I am your host, Onvermel, here today with the Zack-Ta.
The Zack-Ta. What do you think I am? You?
Is there any other Zack-Tas out there?
I don't know.
I sure hope not. Therefore, you are the Zack-Ta.
I'll have to Google that again one time.
Wait, you don't like putting the in front of the stuff? What are you, like an anti-the?
I prefer to be more anonymous.
Where are your Zack-Ta? You want to strut your stuff?
No.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I mean, yes, I'm the one who puts the front of my name. Actually, I don't. It's not like I call myself the Onvermel.
No, but if you were to put it on paper, it would.
Possible. So, I had a means of thinkings.
Use of thinkings. That's a dangerous thing to be thinkings. Now, what have I told you about
Worrisome, maybe. Dangerous, not necessarily. It's only dangerous, if it's like... Actually, I don't know. I don't think any of my thinkings have been a dangerous situation yet.
I wouldn't know, since I don't know what you're thinking.
That's very true. What I've been thinking, though...
Okay, what you've been thinking?
Well, Bionicle, obviously. But more specifically, stuff... Wasted potential. Because specifically, I was thinking about Lezovic and Karzani. Because, as far as I'm aware of, you had the first appearance of Karzani in, book 1 or 2 of the... the Ignition,
2006.
Right? He was in the one book. I think it was either the first or the second. I don't remember. I think it's the second one. And then you have him in the online serial with Lezovic, Sarda, Idris, and all that.
Dreams of Destruction.
Yes, exactly. And then you have him get killed in Destiny's Quest. No. Yes.
Yesterday's Quest.
Destiny's in this one.
There was Destiny War, which I think was kind of following.
Yesterday's Quest I thought was with Tarduk.
Yes. That's correct. It was I got nothing.
Okay, well, whatever it is, he said he had 3 appearances, as far as I don't think he had any others, right?
Pretty much. He's got some... Well, he had an appearance in Dark Mirror, but that doesn't really count because that's an alternate Lezovic.
Yeah, I was actually talking Karzani.
Oh, Karzani.
Lezovic has 2.
Karzani has another, I think... I don't know...
Oh, wait.
The T.O.A Nuva go to Karzani,
yes,
but I don't know if Karzani was there anymore, because he was...
Well, he'd been in the pit at that point. But essentially, he's got 3 appearances, right?
Yeah.
And Lezovic's got, 3 as well. There isn't a lot of them. Now, in Lezovic's case, okay, fair. 3 appearances, doesn't have a team, is not a big player, whatever.
Honestly.
But for Karzani, specifically, it's this guy's Artaka's brother, and Artaka's a big deal. He's a big deal. He's basically a character that Greg made up, that's basically the embodiment of Matoran Hell. And then he gets made into a set, gets put into a story, and then he gets killed. Of all of... Especially because it's a character Greg made and then had a set, the fact props to him for, killing off a character, and, also it's meant to show how powerful Velika is, that he can kill someone like Karzani.
Yeah.
But it's that's it? That's all we got from Karzani?
Karzani
he barely affected, out of his 3 stories, I'm going to say, he had also his first appearance, was very impactful, basically the whole catalyst for why the...
It was like an evil Tom Bombadil. He's powerful, but not really involved.
But a great, he had a big part in the story, right? He was important, whatever, and had a good amount of, essentially, I'm going to go screen time, on page time. And then he basically just gets a side story with him and Lezovic that has no bearings on anything. It's just there. It's basically happening. We have these 2... Greg goes, I have these 2 sets that don't have any happening on the Grave Point. Let's put a story of them together.
I would call it, he doesn't have any reason to put him in the main story, but he wants to make a story about them, so he made a side story.
Which is fair.
It builds the universe.
And then he dies. And I'm like...
Karzani really did fit to be a role to be built up to be the next big thing. He could have been the Makuta after the original. They could have just not had Pterodax in it after his supposed defeat with the Takanuva.
Honestly, yeah.
Karzani, and the way he's introduced, okay, he's existed, he's kind of lost in his own world. The Matoran open his eye to a universe that he's kind of forgotten about. And his general bitterness and all that causes him to wreak havoc. Yeah, claim what he believes is rightfully his.
And I'm just he really just it just seems so weird that he got so little time to shine. Really, because honestly, I think because I know Ek and I talked about basically if Bionicle's rebooted of using like Karzanias or Taka as like big name players. Especially if he didn't want to go the route of Makuta and Manu was like bring those
basically
two.
If you wanted to bring back the idea but maybe not have a literal giant robot great spirit, Artak and Karzania are a great substitute.
And it's like I what do you mean
realistically that's much more how like Gen 2 was, except they kept the name Makuta and they renamed the other one Kimu.
Yeah, and I'm like, and the thing is, they did kind of go for the same thing with Lezovic, where at least he didn't die at the end of his story, so it's like, you could just say, Lezovic had opportunities to be in more stories, but the canon got ended soon, right?
Yes.
But also think about Karzani as a big villain that could have been, that didn't get much screen time. There's a case for another one. Trent Crom.
A character
the name
only has been around since the beginning.
Well, the name goes back to the beginning of the Trent Crom Peninsula.
Was it Peninsula?
Yep, Peninsula.
For some reason, Peninsula doesn't sound right on Match
Peninsula.
Yeah, but the Trent Crom Peninsula.
And that goes like back to year one when they were basically either just making the board game where they're like, okay, we need to name a bunch of random locations on this. And so Trent Crom, and same thing with Ortaka, both of those names go back to there. Now, if I'm correct, the character itself didn't show up until like when?
I'm pretty sure about the time of Federation of Fear.
So like 2008.
I don't know for sure, but the first appearance I can pick, well, all the appearances of Trent Crom I can picture are in the serials. And one of the earliest ones was Federation of Fear, where they go to the Trent Crom Island where Karapper is killed.
So we're going to say, for the most part, the character wasn't created until...
To my knowledge, he's not in any of the books. I could be wrong, but I can't think of any reason. But, like, I know Liwa met there. A part of me feels like we have actually seen Trent Crom before that.
He might have been... It's possibly, like, mentioned in something like...
But I would say it was basically Mystic era where Trent Crom became a name.
Now, if I'm correct, he's one of those cases where it's, like, only an organic character. Like, he's not biomechanical, he is just an organic being, for lack of a better word. And he's like, he doesn't have a humanoid form, as far as we're aware of.
No, he's got a form. He's, I think, literally, like, melded into the cave. Like, they could see him, they can interact with him. The problem is he's, like, I'm going to say fused to the cave, so he cannot leave.
Now, he's, like, kind of, like, beyond the powers of, like, a normal character model, right? He's ambiguously evil. He
was the Great Spirits. He was the curator to the museum before the actual consciousness of Matanui was created and placed in the robot. He was holding the universe together, essentially.
And so it's like, okay, really cool concept, right? And of course, they only get, as far as where it has, like, he's in one story. Maybe mentioned in, like,
he's in a couple, because Federation of Fear, they run into him. I don't know if they were looking for him, but they run into him.
That's it, like, they run into him. Like, obviously...
In Reign of Shadow. That's the serial. For some reason, I feel like there could be a book called Reign of Shadow. But in Reign of Shadow, Trent Crom transfers his consciousness into Liwa Nuva.
And then he goes into space.
Yes, but at that point, I think Artak has banished his mind from Liwa Nuva. Or he moved to a new body. Even still, I think I understand why they wanted the Trent Crom now, why Trent Crom was getting involved. Because they need to get Makuta out of a giant robot.
Who better than go to the guy who knows
who's going to control the giant robot when he's gone?
And again, like, I never, I think, read that story, or if I did, it was, like, one time, or it was, like, long ago. So, like, from my memory of it, you remember him being quite kind of like one of those, no one really knows about you, but you're kind of a big deal, like, if you got loose sort of thing. Like, this would, and so, again, another character where it's, like, really feels like there was potential to really become a big bad. And I'm like, you had the Trent Crom, you had Karzani, and instead, Greg goes, you know what? I'm going to make a character a great being in disguise. And I'm like...
You know, you could have just made that Trent Crom. Given that he already has established to have the ability to put his conscience and stuff. And then picking anyone is a much better thing. Because it's not like, who would be a good great being in disguise? No, it's like, who did he take control of?
Trent Crom would almost make sense just because he is organic. Like, he's not biomechanical. He was taking care of the robot before he had the conscience. Like, that sounds like a job for a great being.
Like, and I don't really get the impression great beings, from the way they've been described, really have any, like, omnipotent power. So, you know, Trent Crom being able to disguise himself, like, he put himself into Liwa. He could put himself into someone else. Who is he? Where is he? What's he up to?
And I'm like, we had this great potential.
Basically, he's been a prisoner for a long time, and he's free and he's powerful.
I love that trope or that story idea, that concept of like I've used it in my own. Even in like in something as minimalistic as I've been in prison a long time, but even something similar to Transformers Energon when Shock Blast gets ready for that. As my kid, I remember I don't think he's just a prisoner. But the idea of is this guy's crazy. Don't let him out. And I love the idea when oh crap, he got out. All hell's gonna break loose. Sort of idea. Like don't let that thing out.
Something just so demented that they will do things that no other sane person can do.
You can't really
or
kill
just
it.
Physically having power. It's just like just the concept of shite. It's out.
And so I look at that. And that's one reason I've always was disappointed that Trendcrum never had the time to really
shine.
I mean, that's really anything that came late in Bionicle that unfortunately things were ended prematurely.
Yeah, still
But even like I said, going back to Tarzan, he goes back to 2006. And he didn't have really time to shine.
Maybe earlier. I want to say Karzani's first technical appearance is in the Book of Islands.
But that came out in 2006. Because it was after. Because I know Voynich was in that book.
Right.
So, but even then, that's still the whole second half of the Bionicle release date. Because from 01 to 05 is the first 5 years. So he was around for basically the second run.
And you also have to remember, Karzani's name existed at least as early as 2005.
I know when the books came out.
I know it was during. No, yeah, it was before they became Hordika. So yeah, 2004. No, it might have been 2005.
It might have been
when the books were released. But basically, Metronui era. That's when his name was first dropped with a being similar to the Morphuzak.
More specifically, it's a plant.
But
the Karzani.
Didn't that plant actually say that he was named after Karzani, or was that established later?
I think that might. I don't know. That might have been just something Greg said.
I want to say in the book it says I am named after the Matorn's worst nightmare or something. I could be mixing.
It might be Greg was already putting the seeds of what he wanted to do for Karzani.
I mean, we already knew, as you said, Karzani was his character. They made the Lego set after he was.
I had to reread the book. I've been meaning to read those.
To be fair, it takes I think 3 years to produce a Lego set, so maybe they already had Karzani in the works by the time Voynich was already coming around.
It's exceptionally hard to say.
And as a story writer, he would have had inside knowledge, so he was able to sort of lay seeds for his disappointing arrival, I guess would be a way to put it.
Yes. And it's just being really disappointed with that. And when it comes down to Bionicle, disappointment of lost potential. One could all go through all of the Gen 2 stuff because the whole Gen 2 was wasted potential.
I would say the show is looking back on now has actually made it worse.
Oh yes, definitely. But again, when it's having to wrap stuff up quickly.
No, I'm not just talking the last time. I'm just talking the whole show as a whole.
Well, yes.
I mean, I remember being excited and now being a little disappointed. But I actually looking if you just gave me the story beats, the show actually brings it back a notch. And it really did not do any of the characters justice. And I don't even care if they're being true to the original. It's so paint by the numbers.
The funny thing is, it's everything's bad with, I would say, the Journey to One Netflix special with the show, except for any part with Poatu.
Correct. Poatu.
For whatever reason, it's weird because he's also the character that they changed the personality the most to, and he became the most interesting because of it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
The best part.
We also just have a personal amusement from his hatred for Tar, which lines up way too much to our own history. But
given that the Mask of Light came out, we didn't know any of the T.O.A's characters off the bat.
I'm really just going to go for wasted potential. The movies.
The movies.
The first three are more or less fine, but especially the fact that they had a deal with
Mattel, I think it was.
No, Mattel did the first three, but it was the Tiny Toon Productions to do 3 movies.
And instead of doing
they did one, and of course it got canceled. And they were there's a script for the second that's been leaked. But then because they still had what's it called? the deal. I think that's how the first like couple Hero Factory came to be,
Yeah.
or some degrees, and then I think they might have extended. But it was like the fact that they had like basically 3 movies basically lined up for like what they had planned, right? And so it's like, okay, sure, Legend Reborn wasn't maybe the greatest, right? But I will say it's not a terrible movie. It's just
It is watchable.
it's simpler.
I would call that solely a kids film.
Oh yes,
That is a kids film.
but there are some good parts. The animation is smooth.
I would say the animation is definitely smoother
And this is
in the
the
sense
thing is,
like
like,
it feels
And honestly,
consistent.
you know, it could have. If there was a whole trilogy of them, you know, they might not have been like regarded as amazing, but they could have been regarded as decent, right?
Yeah, it's possible that sequels would have gone better.
And I'm just like, it's one of those. And that's the thing, you never know, especially with like mid-tier movies. The likeliness that sequels get better is always a higher probability.
You
because
know
the bar is
what
lower.
would have been really cool?
Eh?
And like I know this wouldn't really happen, period, but like so we've established this new world and we have a new company, so it's got new animation, it's much more lifelike. If for whatever reason the second or third movie they meet the inhabitants of the Matorn universe and they are designed more in the style of the old movies to really show, you know, the different worlds they are from. That would just be fun in my
That is always a concept that I always like to think about and stuff, and never would happen, but man, that'd be kind of cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, at the same time, just if you had 2 more movies, the chance that you would get like the stars, like Takumi was showing up in the third star.
I would like to think the second or third movie would essentially be the big duke out. Or because Bionicle doesn't like to tell the same story in the same place, it might be during the big duke out we actually get to see what these people are doing.
The thing is though is if they had gone to the point where they got their last 2 movies, means Bionicle would not have been canceled so early, right? Would it have still ended with 2 robots duking? Probably.
Can you imagine?
Probably.
If Bionicle still canceled, but because of the contract, we still got 2 more Bionicle movies.
Oh my gosh. That would have been so weird. It's like, yeah, we got 2 movies going. Any choice to go with it? Nah.
And can you imagine if, like, the third, or after the second or third, like, you know what?
They
sold pretty darn well. We should consider making... Let's release another wave of toys. Oh, wow, they didn't sell at all. Okay, yeah, they're officially canceled.
Yeah, and just... it's just so sad that Bionicle just... It's like the video games were both rushed and, like, you know, didn't get to be fully produced, so they both were, like, cut short to some degree. Bionicle, the game more so the Bionicle Heroes, but in Bionicle Heroes, I'm pretty sure they didn't get as much in there as they hoped. You get the movies, which didn't get to, you know, fully get made. You get the Netflix show, which the series was canceled, so, like, the second season, quote unquote, or episode, whatever, I think it's the second season, got late, so they had to wrap things up. It's like, every time Bionicle has, like, a good way, unless it's the books, every other, like, source of story, like, visual media, I swear, just gets shafted. Which is sad, because, as I mentioned before, Bionicle works so well in a visual, like, either video game...
They are so unique.
Specifically in a video game media. It would work better than so much other stuff. And just...
be happy if there were more proper high-res video games, but what I really would like would be a TV show, like a high-budget TV show, because I want to watch it, not play it. I don't play a lot of games, so...
Dude, man, only I would say I would like the show, but honestly, the game, if they had, like, just a game, that'd be so much
It's hard to mess up a story with a game when, you know, they're just following the beats.
And even Gen 2, I'm surprised, only had, like, a mobile game. That was bare bones, because I'm like...
I didn't even know that.
Exactly, it was a very boring, bare bone game. And I'm like, that's it? Like, you didn't even have, like, a... Again, it's like, I just don't get why every time for the essentially 12 years between the 2 runs of Bionicles, there wasn't more video games. Because Lego has a
they
good...
didn't even lend themselves well to video games by having elemental powers.
Exactly, you know, you got the different, you know, power-ups, you got the different, you know, special abilities, you got different characters, the different... It fits... And if you want to do a collectathon, that works perfect too. Because the thing is, the Bionicle the game and Bionicle Heroes, both of the control, both don't really give you the full experience of playing with mass powers and elemental powers. And it's like, okay, other Lego games, like any of the classic, you know, the Lego Star Wars, Lego Harry Potter, Lego Indiana Jones, like those style games, those have all sold well. You look at the old, like, PC games, you have, like, Lego Racers, Lego Rock Raiders, and Lego Creator. I think those all sold well and are fondly remembered. And yet the Bionicle games, all the other Lego games, are seen as, like, probably the...
Maybe it's because Bionicles lend themselves to a more traditional video gameplay than any others, and therefore they don't know how to do them as well.
I mean,
Because I would say the
charm,
the games, the other games Lego done, they've had to be more like it's more focused on the building, the being Lego, and that's what they know. Whereas in Bionicle is much more, I would say,
first person shooters.
First it's an actual video game that like teenagers would play, and I don't think they have experience in that.
I mean, it is true. It also depends on what they wanted, but also, why wasn't the Bionicle the game just based around the Mask of Light? That's all I gotta say. Missed opportunity there too. Also, I remember the Mask of Light coming out and thinking that was a missed opportunity because when it came out, I remember being disappointed that it wasn't about the 2001 because it was the first movie, so you think it takes place at the beginning of the storyline, and instead it's basically your year 3 into a lore, and the movie takes place then. I would say
I would love to see a cinematic.
I don't care anymore.
Re-envision of the first year, except for the fact that the online game did it.
That's true. I have gone past the desire to have that.
I mean, I've said it before and I said it again. I would love to see Flash animation TV shows. If they made a Bionicle TV show in the Flash animation.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I don't even care if the story is good. I could just watch it with no sound, just sound effects. Don't put word. Honestly, that can even help plot. If you don't have proper,
just have the
actors. Just have the subtle sounds and the.
So
motions.
basically, just do the cutscenes of Monog.
Yeah, but just turn all the bits you play into cutscenes. But
yes.
I find it interesting. Like you've seen the Mask of Light.
Oh, many times.
I really do like the animations. I like how they gave them the organic bits, and I mean the T.O.A mask sort of make the feel as a whole more organic, but it made sense. But I look at them like I remember the commercials from the first couple of years. Why did they make it look more like that?
These are questions that we'll never know. I'm assuming they just wanted to have a more realistic feel rather than just making it look like toys, which, I'll be honest, I respect them for that.
I just cannot stop thinking off and on, like, on my own time, just picturing a photorealistic Bionicle, like the movie Dinosaurs, real backdrops, but with, like, CGI characters, and they could just focus all on the design, just seeing the subtle pitting of the masks and that. And obviously they look like the toys, but obviously with enough tweaking to be more like how they did in the movies to kind of sort of flow things together a little better and fill in organic. I would love to, even if it was like a fan-made 5-minute thing, but they really, really did it. I'm like, it would just be great. So much stuff that I want a fan to do that because we'll never get it officially. But just like that opening scene where Tahu becomes ashore, just that
walks on the beach and all that good stuff.
The realistic beach, and then this photorealistic Tahu puts himself together.
Photorealistic Bionicles, that's definitely something I've never really thought.
I would say you would have to take a lot of inspiration from the movie. You would just have to make them look more like they're actual, real, not clearly an animated film.
True.
To fit the environment. I would say aesthetically, the movies got it right because they took the toys. You can see the toys, but in the hips and the shoulders, they sort of smoothed it out so it's not this very obvious socket that's just in there.
Well, basically, it's like you can tell where every piece is.
Yeah.
Like the legs look like legs, the chest looks like the chest, the head looks like the head.
And obviously, the only
one they really, I would say, changed a lot to were the Matorn, really.
And the bits that they filled in, and they filled in gaps with the organic bits that should be there. Though in a more photorealistic, you're supposed to believe this is live action type of film. It would be nice if the pistons and the toe arms were a little more vacant and you actually see the piston itself moving.
But in fairness, they were basing them off the T.O.A Nuva.
Look at their arms, Paul. It's the same as their legs.
Gallinuva doesn't have it. Takanuva doesn't have it.
Well,
and Takanuva is more of the key character.
Tahu and Lewa and Kopaka still have that arm.
But I know, but still, I'm just saying, in fairness.
I know, and I'm just saying,
the T.O.A Nuva have less of it. So
just in a higher budget sort of film, just to actually that subtle detailing that really just sort of hammers in. These are still machines.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would love to just constantly hear that very subtle whirring, like in DS9, where you just hear that subtle machine humming. Just every time they move, you just hear that slight. I mean, maybe it might get annoying on a big screen.
It depends.
All the time.
I mean, you can change how much is prominent in there in the sound editing and such. So it's
it falls silent, the screens go out, and you just hear him walk away.
Technically, in any of the Michael Bay movies, all the Transformers usually when they move, they make certain mechanical noises.
Exactly.
Just it's sometimes more subtle than others.
Yeah. I think that would just be I really wish I could be a director for a Bionicle movie.
Dude, all I'd want to be is just a creative consultant. That's all I want to be.
See, I would like to be a creative consultant, but like, these are things that I'm talking about. I don't think a creative consultant can really. This is like a director's choice, I think. I haven't directed or creatively consulted a show, so I don't know. But I imagine, like, how to use sound, it becomes more of a director choice. Like, okay, we're going to have every movement.
That's like, I'm pretty sure what the creative, you have creative consultant to help bounce ideas like this off of people.
You tell me to put these sound effects in to make them more realistic. I tell the people how to use the sound so it's not too annoying.
I would think so.
Okay, we're gonna fade to silence, and we're just gonna hear the words of Tahu walking away as Jala just looks off in not annoyance, but whatever that stern look of his he has of so wise yet so young. No, maybe make it a camera.
I was gonna say that doesn't sound like a Jala.
I'm trying to think, like, there's a scene where like Jala wants to help Tahu, and Tahu kind of like, and he's like, well, I'm helping you anyways, sort of thing.
See, I can't get into the mindset of certain characters, but I guess bringing it all back, is there any other like missed opportunities that you can kind of think of, or you just felt like you would have wanted to see more, like in a story where it's like, man, I wish you had more screen time, or wish they would have feel like.
I want to say a good chunk of the Glatorians was missed opportunity.
Oh, the whole thing was majorly missed opportunity. I would say anything before Madanui showed up was fine. Because it was like building the world, you had it. But the moment he kind of got there, it's just like, I don't know. Because the whole idea, like,
I think T.O.A was a missed opportunity, honestly. Like, we did not even really get to know T.O.A. But that's also a side effect of just not having enough.
Being a mysterious villain. That doesn't really get revealed till later.
Well, he gets defeated within a year, basically. Within the year that they get released.
And it's really hard looking at like any sort of thing from the Glatorian era as like opportunities, just because it's like, obviously, by the time that came out, they already know that they were going to, like, sit and finish the line come in 2010, right? So anything in story, like anything with Bota Magna already had to get shortened.
A real missed opportunity. Voltrez and Mazika. Two relatively cool sets. Like, they have less appearances than, like, Lezovic.
But they're also in that same vein of, these are other Titan sets from this wave that we couldn't fit into the main story.
Like, Mazika. The Swamp Strider has only one appearance to my knowledge, and that is as a model Helrix is playing with.
Okay, that's weird. Do you know I'm surprised that Mazika's storyline wasn't? Is that he wasn't just like a nomad Matorn wandering the swamps that the T.O.A knew a bump into?
Like, making him an Order Motonui, whatever. But given the design of the set, when he came out, he would have fit better with someone either aiding the Tonua for the Order Motonui, or he's like an Avmatorn or something who's like taking matters in his own hand. He should have actually been in Cardanui in the way that he came out.
What Voltrez should have been was the first attempt at Shadow Matorn.
Well, they did.
Because he doesn't have the wings, he has a flying vehicle, he's not like, they haven't perfected it,
because, like, other than the clawed feet, like, I can see, I'm okay with him
Is he
actually
Shadow Matorn, though?
No, he's just evil.
Okay, he's just evil.
He's just a dirtbag.
He got a foot transplant.
Remember, he's just a dirtbag. Say it with me. He is a dirtbag.
I couldn't quite remember whether or not he actually was or wasn't.
No, he's not. Which was kind of weird because he came out with this wave and he had the clawed toes, which actually, if you think about it, is actually more accurate. Matoran have 2 toes.
I mean, true.
So does this mean the Avmatoran are actually the evil ones? Because they don't have toes. Look at the Tohunga, they got toes.
No, they become...
Metru have toes. Everyone else has toes except them.
Yeah, they just got like toe feet.
They just got boots on.
No wonder they use elemental powers. Look at those feet.
Oh, that was not a wasted potential. That was too much information.
Wasted, not so much potential, but execution. Failed execution, the Boar connection to the T.O.A and Matorn. Because there was always some sort of connection. Like, we all knew that.
I want to say that it's either a...
The Bayra referred to the T.O.A, I think, as, like, brothers or something. Like,
what you sworn to protect or something.
Basically, in 2002, it was always shown
that... It was hinted that there was a...
They weren't so different.
Kindred.
They aren't so different, you and I, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, we're not so much enemies as we're like...
We're more alike than you think.
You're hurting your family.
But it's like...
to be fair, Matoa are out of Matoran, and the Bayrag would have assumed
What I dislike... The main thing I dislike is that's just Matoran that turned into Borak.
See, the thing is, like, I understand what they're going for, but there has got to have been a better way to do it.
How about this? Okay, how about this? When a Matoran dies... Instead of basically getting put into a new body, they just take that body and that gets parts.
The old body becomes the old body becomes and they get put in a new body.
Exactly, right? Look, Ari did it better.
But like it there's something that you don't think about much. I honestly forget about. But the thing that gets me is like, I mean, Torrent Lila just suddenly goes, "Oh, my time's come."
They've hit puberty.
They randomly at different intervals hit puberty.
I've heard the worst kind of puberty. Some Torrent hit puberty become T.O.A. Oh, I get it.
I did like the idea that they led the T.O.A on the Mator. These are kind of your brothers in a way, and you're harming them.
Good.
And the T.O.A just sort of ignored, and then we find out that
Okay, random question then. If Amatoran become Borg at some point, I'm assuming once the Borg need to replenish their supply, basically just sends out a signal that we need a new Borg, right?
It's calling again.
Basically something like that, right? Do you think that because Taku is a faulty Matoran that he can't turn into a Borg?
He's not a faulty Matoran.
Is he a little faulty because he was a first Matoran design, so he's a little wonky?
I don't remember hearing that. It wouldn't surprise me if he was the first Matoran design, because of course they'd make him that.
I'm pretty sure.
I know he's an Amatoran place, and he was among other Amatoran taken away place in our village, and that's why his colors are off. Is because
I'm pretty sure Greg said that he was the first design Matoran, and he was that he's a little wonky because of it. That's what I could think.
I've heard that anyone destined to become a T.O.A is a little wonky to their peers.
But the thing was no. If he's basically just an average Amatoran, right? He's lucky he didn't become a Borg. That would have been awkward. Okay, also how about this?
Ready to put on the mask. Duck paint.
How about this? You're an Amatoran in hiding, right? You don't know it. Then one day you have to get turned into a Borg. Someone comes another Amatoran comes. Taku goes into your house. And there's just a Borg sitting there. Do you wonder how many times that happened? They just get thrown in the archives. Just imagine the Onvermel when you get because another Borg's arrive, the Onvermel come, they just put in the archives, and they have 50 Borg in the archives going. We don't know where these Borg keep coming from.
Okay, I don't know if this is wasted potential, but it's something that kind of disappoints me.
Okay.
In the online animations.
Okay.
And in the comics.
Okay.
After the Borg are defeated and the Borg color coming, the Bo-Rock swarms are around helping them rebuild. They're just basically drones They're helping them out. In the movies, in the books, nothing about that. I think that'd be fun. If you just see it background in the movies, random Bo-Rocks.
No, the comics do.
Yeah, I said the comics.
And the
animation. The only real Bo-Rock lead after that, other than that, is the frozen Bo-Rocks in Kokoro. But
I feel like those have been there
honestly,
a while.
Realistically, they shouldn't have been Bo-Rock, because at that point, Bo-Rock were peaceful things just doing their own thing.
Well, that was post the Borg call, so it's hard to say what the Borg were doing at that point.
But wouldn't it be fun if they actually said, okay, after the Borg call, we got rid of the Bo-Rocks?
It is really weird that
even
when the Bayrag can't communicate with the Swarm, that they just... I mean, I guess that shows how well they're connected to T.O.A Matoran, that they're instantly going, yeah, we'll help you.
And that almost that definitely helps to sell that, but okay, we see that the Borg are helping the T.O.A. In the books, I would say one of the most solid sources of canons is the books.
I would have to agree.
We see all of it. Never do they mention, the Borgs are helping us rebuild, or the Borgs have turned on us because of the Borg call.
Did they not? See, the fourth book when the T.O.A looking for the mask would be the only one I think they might.
Can you imagine?
But I don't remember the book at all.
Do you remember in one of the online serials, Krakua triggers the sonic frequency to awaken the Borg? Yeah. Can you imagine if we're under Dimension News under attack? Fortunately, we have these Borg swarms holding... The Borgs are holding them off for now, but the line's going to crumble soon. We need backup.
Then later on they realize...
we don't have to mention just a quick mention of the Borg swarms are still there, and they've been holding off the Makuta's Rockshi attack, but they are, without the mind, they aren't as nearly effective. They might not even have their powers, but there's something.
The whole concept of the Borg swarm and the Bayrag, the connection they have with T.O.A, Manui, was something that only the last couple of years I realized how much more interested I am in that sort of whole dynamic, and just being I feel like there's so many questions that it's just I
would actually say the Borg, I would actually say I enjoy them as villains more than the Rahi because of
Wait, hold on, I just had a thought. So the Borg can throw Karan at you to help you work with them, right? It's not just being the same thing of being enlisted into the army.
Yes, we're throwing a
You're
paycheck.
You're just getting mass drafted.
We are throwing paychecks at you to get you to work for us.
All right. So Miss Kadok and Gadok, we're about 2,000.
Okay, this is
short.
A big island.
Look, let me tell you, Manui, his whole body is it's very shallow ocean. His whole body's out. We're gonna need another 10,000 troops. can we go to Metchnui and can we get a permit to go to Metchnui and take the
I
Matoran?
can just see that. Okay, so like this is a big island,
It's a
and
big operation.
the rest of everything else is underwater, so we're kind of short staffed right now, and we've got to get this done by the end of the week. We need more men. Can we have some Karana to enlist some new people?
And I guess also with that is, if all the Matoran hadn't lost their memory, like, my question is, how much do other people, like, are Borg, I mean, I guess they only go on the outside, so there's no reason anyone should know about
Okay.
Borg.
This is just a thought, and this is just something I'm thinking about now,
Okay,
like, you know, for potential, like, fan fiction.
Shoot it at me.
Okay, so, Borg or Matoran?
Yes.
Matoran live in a Great Spirit robot.
Yes.
Pleasing the Great Spirit or doing your duty is, like, the number one thing you can do.
It's one of the 3 virtues.
Wouldn't it be interesting, like, you know, to make a story, you know, it's like, you do your job, you do good, and this is why people like Taku would never become a Borok. It's, if you do a good enough job, you get promoted as that. You get to be taken away to become one of Matt Nui's servants, like a direct servant, where you take it when you become a Borok. Like that's an achievement. Like you want to be someone who's directly like you're not just an average worker. It's like you do a good job, you can become a Borok. Like whether they know it or not, it's up to how dark you want to make it.
One of those like nice darker sort of twists where
like,
things
you don't have to make it dark. Like you could make it dark, but just the idea of you are working. The whole point is like you're not just working to please the Great Spirit. You are working to please the Great Spirit and like please him enough that you'll be seen worthy in his eyes to be, essentially taken to a better place. Not Karzani.
Okay.
Something to think about. So a nice little just you have done good. The yearly calling. I mean, also, selection has come.
On that thought of Boraks and such. So if Matoran turned into a Borok, right? Similar to how Matoran turned into T.O.A, right?
Yes.
Similar idea, right? Does it a Borok?
The Borok exist.
Can a Borok? Do they turn into Borg Va as if the next step is turning into a Turaga essentially? Or are Borg Va completely separate beings?
I feel like Borg Va. I mean, that would see Borg aren't like a T.O.A another version of T.O.A. Now, if
but look at it this way: you got Matoran that turned to T.O.A or Borg, and then T.O.A go into Turaga, Borg go into Borg Va.
Now, Borg would be turned to a Borg Call.
Only
then
that's
they become Borg
Dermis.
No, but Paul, Borg are Matoran.
No. Well, think of it, but they metamorphose into a Matoran, just like Matoran metamorphoses
into Borg
T.O.A.
is basically another version of a T.O.A you can become. So you're selected by the Turaga to become either a Borg or a T.O.A because you've done such good service, and you become a Borg.
I feel like if you're a poor worker, you will learn loyalties. Like you will learn.
That's better.
It's like
a good worker is selected to become a T.O.A. Poor workers,
and that's why the Kran are there, to keep you in thought with everyone else.
It's just the weird,
Borg have so much potential.
You could go both ways because you could either be you cannot be trusted to work on your own, so you're a collective mind, or it's like you are here if the Great Spirit needs you. We want the best of the best. Also,
that sounds like such a culty thing. Like it's like, don't worry, they'll need you. Give up your willingness. You'll be one with the Great Spirit. Like it sounds like just a really shady way of getting you to give up.
Now I wish my fan fiction I'm working on did not have a Great Spirit, and I'm like, I totally want to work a Metchnui and this Borok thing in there. But also on that
Borok,
Great Spirit,
Bork call, Bork Va, metamorphosing. You're a good employee. Get a raise.
I had something I was going to add to all this.
Also, can I just say, so Makuta, does he know how to use the energized protodoors very well?
I don't think it's hard to use. You have no control over it.
The T.O.A Nuva really kind of got lucky, right?
Yeah.
No control. You're telling me I have a suspicion that they have more control over than anyone else. Because the Borg Call or Borg putting energized protodoors, they know, I suspect, how to use that more than anyone else.
There's as many Borg Call put in energized protodoors as we know as T.O.A.
Yeah, 6.
It's 6. It worked out well. We know what energized protodoors does. We're not going to try this again.
Listen, the Borg Call were waiting for a while. Like they were designed, like they were there. So you're telling me the Borg Banger I could have done. Our 6 Borg Call are gone. Let's make 6 new ones. We know how to do it.
But are these ones Destiny Borg Call? That's the tricky part. But this does remind me.
Quite
can I just say how niche the Borg actually are?
To clean.
How were we actually expecting Matt Nui to fall down and create this? The fact that Matt Nui can even create this false island for what was the purpose of this actually meant for? Now, if you told me it's for just actual cleaning, like, in space or on planets,
I suspect
he gets grime. But why did Mad Nui actually have a program to create an entire island? Like this wasn't a hologram. He actually created an island on his face.
That's called, they didn't plan that much during the original mid-plan, and they basically made the island. He was like, okay, grew on his face, the Borg are there to clean it, and then years after, Greg had to go, okay, why exactly did the island
Okay, I have an easy fix for this.
Okay.
He crashes. He's there a long time. Stuff builds up.
See, you would think that's the actual reason.
Particularly when we have a 100,000-year history, and there's been people alive for this 100,000 years history. We can wait a few.
The problem is the timeline of like the cataclysm, and that's like.
Okay, well, let's put as far as like the island goes. You crash, you push up dirt. You go head first. Let's say you push the dirt up under you, or create volcanic explosions. That's pretty easy. The trees and whatnot. Maybe we could have just made them come a little later. Maybe the Traga find an island.
In fairness, like all of Core doesn't have much living on there. No, Core doesn't have much living there. It's like not that much of that actually has stuff living on it.
When the T.O.A first come, they're finding this island to take them to Torn to. Maybe it's not the paradise that it's shown to be.
Or maybe over 1,000 years, the Matoran just know how to. I mean, maybe 1,000 years, Matoran are maybe just good at agriculture. Like they're good.
No, but like it says in the book when they find the island, which would have been just after the Cataclysm. It was a perfect paradise.
Oh, those two. I thought you were talking about Tomata.
No, I'm like the Metru. Like
no, they made it a paradise.
Yeah, it would be kind of interesting if it was more. It wasn't that great, but it was somewhere else.
Okay.
So
how about this for a fun little detail? The volcano, right?
Yes.
Imagine that's literally just a gas leak in Mad Nui's face. That's literally just, or maybe that's where he got like an injury. That's why he had like something like broke on his face, and that's literally where the volcano. And
it's melting the rock above it, which
it's just as
and that's why the lava is continuing there. Like
it's literally just internal, like like molten heating or something.
And maybe like the trees are just they weren't there at first, but they started to go after
over
time.
1,000, like even
1,000 years is enough time to grow.
200 years, you'll have a full island of trees.
And like I would say, as far as lore goes, like yes, when the T.O.A met there, they just land on this tropical paradise island. That's nice. That's charming. But the Metru after the dark, can you imagine more like rather than find this weird?
Honestly, when it comes down to just story, the early life on Mad Nui, I would love to know more about that.
See, I can see both ways. Okay, our world's been destroyed, and we come across this peaceful paradise. Okay, that's fine, and it certainly does sort of lead, if you think about it, like this is a little odd, especially if you think about giant robot falling down. But I think the Metru is all about darker, like hard times, like we escaped Metru Nui because it's destroyed, and we found a barren rock. But thanks to reasons we do not know,
but we can't go back.
And thanks to reasons we do not know, things started to grow, and we didn't need plants to eat or anything. Matau took his gaggle of friends and became forest dwellers once there was a forest to dwell in. Rahi slowly started to spill in from Metru Nui, unfortunately, but they took kindly to the forests.
I like these ideas. However, I think this is probably a good place. I was going to say, I feel like this is a good place to end it. Definitely went longer. This is a good one. Thanks everyone for listening, and I was going to say watching, but I'm listening. I have been your host, Onvermel. This has been the T.O.A Podcast, and we are retiring from the night.